Hello, darling. I'm Jane. Today I'm going to show you how to make these creepy eyeball orbs. I really love this project. It's easy, cheap, and quite creepy. I got this idea from the Grandin Road catalog where they have these creepy eyeball orbs. And I decided to make my own because the ones in the catalog were too much money and I'm too cheap for that. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna turn this ball into a Halloween eyeball orb. So I'm starting with a styrofoam ball. I just found this at the thrift shop. I've printed out my eye templates. They're available on my website. And we're gonna cut this eye out and put it onto this. But first, we're gonna cover it with our newspaper, and I've torn up some pieces of newspaper. I've got a skewer, so I'm going to put the skewer in the ball, and then I'm going to actually use this box to dry it. I'll show you that as I go. I've got some Mod Podge. I have some sandpaper for sanding down the paper mache or decoupage. I have a little bit of raw umber paint. I'm going to add that to my Mod Podge. I've got some water, scissors, X-Acto knife, and I have a little marker, and of course my paintbrush. So let's get started. First, I'm taking some of this Mod Podge. I'm just going to pour it in here. I'm going to make sure I have enough to cover my ball. I'm going to just add a little drop of paint just to make it a little bit antique-y looking. You can always add more. So this makes the Mod Podge just a little bit darker, which is kind of nice that it's not too bright white. It's going to add a little drop more. So we're trying to make this sort of old and creepy looking. There we go. I'm just stirring it around. All right, there we go. All right, now this is the part where you're going to get messy, so you have to be prepared to get your hands messy. Now I'm actually going to take off my ring for this. Okay, I'm going to put down the surface here. So we're just going to start applying our glue, and actually first I'm going to poke the skewer in to the ball. Looks like somebody already did this. And this will make it a lot easier to dry and to hold on to, and I won't always be touching the ball, but I am going to start down at the bottom. So I'm just taking some glue, brushing it on there. Do it in sections. You don't want to do it all at once so that the glue doesn't dry. And then I'm just using my paintbrush to pick up some newspaper, and I just brush it on. Just keep going. Overlap them so that you don't have any blank spots. And you're going to keep going with this until the whole thing is covered. And this is the part where, you know, you can get into the flow, the state of flow that crafting can bring you. If you just like relax and don't worry about making mistakes, just keep adding your newspaper and your glue. I'm even starting to lose my words because I'm starting to get into the flow. So anyhow, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cover the whole thing, and then we're gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna do another coat. Yeah, I think that's good enough. All right, now comes the little bit tricky part if you don't like getting messy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fingers and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there and just smooth out the best I can the newspaper. And we'll sand it after, but you just want to get it really smooth. Like an eyeball, you know? Yeah, it's okay if it's a little spinny. You can always do this again after it dries. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna let this, I'll push it down on the skewer. Now I'm gonna let it dry. So I've got my cardboard box here. I just punched a hole in it. I'm just gonna let that dry. And then we'll come back and finish it. Okay, while this dries, I'm gonna set that aside. And I'm gonna cut out my eyeball. This is the template. I printed it out from my website. I'm just gonna use the scissors to rough cut around the eyeball, and we're gonna cut out the eyeball and just the eyeball part of it, not any of the lids. You'll see why. I think it just works better. You could do any way you want, frankly. I'm just making it up as I go. All right, so I'm gonna use this line that is the eyeball. I'm just gonna gently cut it. Try not to cut myself. If you mess up, you can always print another one and redo it. I don't worry about it being too smooth. All right, now this part, I'm gonna leave a little bit of these eyelashes because when we're done, I want to extend the eyelashes with the marker onto the eyeball, onto the orb. So I'm just gonna keep a little bit of eyelash. You don't have to. All right. Now, while our orb is drying, you'll notice that this is really a pretty big piece of paper, and in order for it to curve around the ball, you need to put some slits in it. So I'm going to cut some slits so that the eyeball will lay flat. And I'm doing it's about 1/4 of an inch by apart. Let's see, by maybe 1/2 an inch deep. And you can always experiment, but I just like to do a lot of little, I think in woodworking they call this kerfing. It's so you can go around a curve. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just cutting slits in the eyeball so that the paper will wrap around the orb. Being careful not to cut all the way through. I'm going to do this side also. Side will lay flat, and they will overlap a little bit, but somehow it doesn't seem to matter. I don't know. Okay, almost done. One more in the corner, and there we go. So now you can see we have this eyeball, and it's got all these little sort of feathered, fringed edges, so that when we lay this on our ball, it's going to wrap around and lay flat on the ball. Now we're just going to let our eyeball dry, and then we'll be ready to sand it. Okay, so our eyeball is dry. Whoops, our skewer came out. What we're going to do is we're going to take our sandpaper and we're just going to lightly sand down any rough edges. Any rough edges that are, or bumps that are showing up. I want this to be as smooth as possible. All right, there we go. That looks good. Just gonna get all the dust off. Okay, so now we're ready to place our eye on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this on here and see where the best spot is. I think it's actually right here. I don't know, that just looks right to me. Okay, so I'm going to put the eyeball right here. I'm going to first add my glue. Nice thick layer. Okay, and then we're going to take the middle of the eye and stick it on there. And we're just going to hold it on there for a second. You can use your brush or your fingers for this. So I just add a layer of glue to the top of the eyeball. And you can see that the little pieces of paper are overlapping a little bit. And I'm just going to get a lot of glue on there, and then I'm going to go back with my finger and just gently smooth it out from the center. You want it to be smooth as possible. Whoops, and this might happen, a piece might break off. It's okay, just smooth it down. Be a little gentle with that area. This one's getting a little wrinkled. Again, just smooth them out from the center. Be careful if it's coming off. All right, there we go. That was easy. Just keep smoothing it until it looks really good. Okay, and now I'm just going to add another layer of glue around the rest of it and let it dry. So now our eyeball's all dry. We're going to use some glossy Mod Podge. So I've got the gloss Mod Podge here, and I'm just going to give it a coat of this so that it makes it nice and shiny. All right, we're ready to let that dry. And once your orb is dry, you can add some eyelashes with your Sharpie marker. I hope you liked making this little eyeball orb, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I got the idea from a Grandin Road. Hey, I see you. I got my eye on you.